Thanks for being here tonight. We miss Josh too, but glad you guys know him. He's a great guy. We enjoyed walking around and meeting some of you. For those that we didn't meet, I'm Eddie, and our information's on the pamphlet that you have. This is Brittany.
Hello.
If you didn't get a pamphlet, raise your hand, and we'll get one out to you. Anybody not have a pamphlet? We've got worksheets in here. They're important, so if you didn't get one, raise your hand. Thank you. All right, so...
Can everyone hear us, or do we need the mic? Need the mic.
All right.
So we were also told we have to use this mic, so we're going to try and make both of them work.
We'll use both mics. They go to different places. Very fun stuff. Well, I guess our first question for you tonight is, what is the biggest question or concern that brought you here tonight? If you have one, just go ahead and raise your hand and we'll address them. Go for it.
Well, just to be blunt, pornography and bad things on the internet that the kids can get access to so easily, on YouTube and everything.
Okay, yeah, access to pornography. Yes.
So, I'm in kind of a funky situation. I'm a survivor of domestic violence, and Dad, who still exhibits power and control, was ordered by the courts to have the kids, to provide the kids phones, and he has set up parental controls on those phones, and even though I have sole decision making ordered by the court, he will not, give me access to the parental controls. So, I have no idea what my kids are surfing. I can't figure out how to figure that out. I can't, maintain, ever what they're doing online and that kind of stuff. And it also, he has it set up so that it dings his phone when they come and go from my house or wherever they're coming and going from. So not only am I worried about exterior influences on my kids, but their own dad influences on my kids.
That's a lot, yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Yes. What else? Questions, concerns, curiosities? Things you want to understand better or resolve? Okay. Yes.
How about the trail that they leave when they're at a website?
Okay, yeah, cookies and the trail they leave. Sure. What else?
The time that they spend. I know we have access now with the iPhones, the new iPhones that can monitor how much time is being spent online and how that time is designated. But I know that there's also some apps and software that out there that can assist with parental controls and putting limits on all those things. And I was just wondering which ones were the best ones to use, and also what makes them each one different that you're aware of.
Sure. Okay. Yes.
I would like some information on how to detect. I know it's been a while here that they have that, a false app where they can hide stuff on there. I know sometimes it looks like another app that's really a Trojan. I don't know, something where it's not really what it is. So I would bring it up here.
Yeah, it's a complicated world in 2019, huh? All right, so there's a lot to cover when it comes to technology, and we'll be honest that we can't cover, it changes every day, we can't cover apps and other facets of technology and that level of detail. So what I want you to do is write down this website. It's axis.com, axis.org. Thank you. Axis.org. Don't write down axis.com. I don't know where it goes. Axis.org. AXIS.org. That is the best web resource I know for the nitty-gritty details you guys are questioning and asking about.
Yeah, because the fact of the matter is we could tell you all of the information that we have on some of those questions today, and it could all change tomorrow. And the apps that are coming out and the resources that you guys might need, they do a phenomenal job. Every time there's a new app or a new Facebook challenge that puts kids in danger or video games, they actually put together parent guides, and you can access those and download those, and they give you talking points to be able to have conversations with your kids about them. So that's an amazing resource.
AXIS.org. All right.
We had a good
Yes, so what we are going to talk about today is some of the broader mindsets and approaches you can take as parents and as kids, as teens, towards technology. Because at the end of the day, technology has changed, but our relationship with technology has changed. So I want you to imagine millennia ago, right? A young boy in a Greek village, and at the age of 4 years old, he's given, it's called a rudius, it's a wooden sword about that long, and he learned how to use that sword as a toy, but also as a tool. And throughout his life, he graduated from rudius, of a wooden sword, to a real sword, and became a warrior, and at the time, the greatest military in the world. So everybody in this room who's my age or older, so I was born in '89, chances are, if you are my age or older, when you were a kid, either technology didn't exist or technology was a tool first. A tool first. I played outside. Yeah, if you played outside as a kid, go ahead and raise your hands. Wow, okay, cool. I think the only video game I played as a kid that I can remember is Duck Hunt. Yeah. It was a fun game, too. Yeah.
My grandparents had Duck Hunt and the original Mario Brothers, so we were doing well.
Yeah. And I played Duck Hunt at my babysitter's wedding, actually, in the back room. That was about it. So fast forward to today, everybody in this room, more than likely, has one of these in their pockets. Yeah? All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I want you to do what I'm doing right now. See what I'm doing? Come on, do it. I believe in you. We're in here for an hour and 10 minutes. You can do it. No one's going to die. You can do it. I turned my phone off. Yeah, for those of you who couldn't see, I turned my phone off. All the way off. All the way. I powered it down. All the way off.
Do you have one?
I don't even know how to turn mine off.
She's like, I'm not answering that.
I don't even know how to turn mine off, he said. All right? I'm not trying to embarrass you, sir. It's the nature that we live in, right? We charge it when it's going dead. We don't turn them off. How often do y'all turn your phones off? When it runs out of battery, okay. Never, often, every day. I'm hearing a lot of things. Cool. Yeah, all right. So, the fact of the matter is, kids today are the first generation in history where technology is a toy first and a tool second. Now, if that young boy in Greece at 4 had been given a real sword, he would have hurt himself, he would have hurt other people. Right? We play with toys, we use tools. If you were born in the 50s or the 60s, you used a slide rule. And then you got a calculator, a Texas Instruments calculator, which was bigger than this, and all it did was crunch numbers. And it was a tool. Technology was a tool. It saved you tons of time. Now, technology is a toy. I get bored, what do? I pull out my phone, I go on Facebook, right? Or I play Candy Crush, right? When you teach someone that something as profound as this is a toy first and not a tool, it's like giving a kid a sword. Because at the end of the day, this is not a toy. This is a tool. And it's not a bad thing, right? If a toy breaks, if a toy's bad, we take it away, right? If I've got a toy as a kid and it breaks and there's a sharp edge on it, my mom takes it away and throws it out. So if we treat this like a toy, when it starts doing something wrong, we take it away. Which doesn't teach kids how to use a tool. This is a tool, it is not a toy. The solution to the technology problem isn't take it away when it misbehaves. It's a tool, you teach them how to use it. And if they can't be trusted with the tool yet, then you give them a toy, you don't give them a tool. So that's our conversation for tonight, is technology as a tool and not as a toy. Because ultimately, if you teach your kids, if you learn how to leverage the potential that technology has, you'll have a very good life. I run a business off this thing. I have traveled to Ecuador and run my business off my cell phone. I've been on the shores of Lake Michigan doing work. I love this thing. This is a tool. It's not a toy.
So as we get started, you all hopefully have your worksheets. So go ahead and flip to the first page. And somebody tell me what you see there.
We lost our copy.
Yeah, I think we lost our copy, so. All right, trichotomy matrix. All right, what are the words that you guys see on there? Productivity, risk, and fun. All right, who has any ideas? What do the three of those have in common? You can think about it for a minute, no rush. There you go.
A phone, sure.
Turn it off.
All right.
Yep. Anybody else? Technology.
Yes, technology.
Yes. You came to the right workshop.
All right, so when we talk about technology and we talk about risk, productivity, and fun, where do you guys think you want to fall in that matrix, in those three areas, in terms of how you approach technology? The middle. Why the middle?
Okay. Because it's good.
The middle's good, okay.
It's like,
You've got this.
it's like, it's good to be in the middle than to be too far and everything else. Because then it can cause you problems.
All right, yes, I love it. She said that it's better to be in the middle than to be on either extreme, because being too far one way or the other can cause problems. Who here would agree with that? Yeah. How old are you? 13? That was a brilliant response. I love it. All right. So go ahead and pull out your pen or whatever you have and mark a circle or a dot or something with where you want to fall. Are we doing where you want to fall or where you think you fall?
Let's do a circle where you want to fall.
Yes. So go ahead and do a circle with where you think the perfect mix of productivity, risk, and fun is when it comes to technology. Do you guys have worksheets? I'll go get you some in a minute.
Yeah, that's
Oh. Yeah, okay. Here, you go ahead.
All right, you have that circle. Now, I want to be honest with yourself. Where do you think you fall on most days in that triangle? All right, I'm hearing lots of laughs. I'm seeing some grimaces. It's all right, huh? One circle where you want to be. Go ahead and put an X where you are. An X where you are, where you fall most days. Pardon? Yeah, let me explain the risk. It's a great question. So, I have yet to find anything worthwhile in life that doesn't contain some amount of risk. Relationships are risky, businesses are risky, cars are risky. Most things that make life better, ultimately, are risky. So it's a question of your cost tolerance, of how much risk you want in your life, right? You can put a lot of safeguards and a lot of fences on a phone. You can do the same thing on a laptop. You can take all the risk or try to mitigate all the risk out of a tool. At the end of the day, I would wager you're really never going to get rid of the risk. And you're removing a lot of the other two things on that triangle in the process. The more that I limit or constrain something, it's a tool, the less effective it's going to be. I don't know if you guys like working with power tools or hand tools, but if you go look at a European table saw, there are so many safety features on that saw, I can hardly cut wood with it. It's got thumb stops and hand guards and automatic stops and this and that and a blade that drops and treads the motor like it's a broken tool. They have so made that tool safe, it's unusable. So you want to find that mix for yourself between risk and productivity, and I think it was fun, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, so speaking of risk, what are some of the risks that you guys imagine or have experienced when it comes to technology? Viruses. Unknown websites.
Hackers. Identity theft.
Identity theft.
Hackers.
Hackers. What was that?
Trojans.
Trojans, okay.
Porn over here earlier.
Porn. Wasted time. Oh gosh, that's like my number one probably. All right, what else? Bullying.
A lot of uses emails.
Scams.
Yes, so scams or the promise of money, perhaps. False hopes. Haha. Yes.
Junk mail.
Junk mail. Oh gosh. Junk mail. Yes.
Lots of ads.
Ads.
Time black hole.
Yes, a time black hole. Addiction. Yes.
Yeah,
And now when you look up anything and you go back, it knows what you're looking up.
I know,
Right.
right? You talk about something, and the next day it's on your Facebook sidebar. It's like, how did that happen?
Oh my God.
Yes.
And then depending on where you go, it's like everybody knows you're there. Like when you log onto Facebook, you can't just
Yeah.
do something on your own.
A lack of security or privacy.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so let's switch it up. What are some of the amazing uses that technology can have? Running a business, yes.
Checking on your kids.
Checking in on your kids or staying in touch. Alexa,
Yeah, virtual assistant, right?
virtual assistants, absolutely. Education. Guys, do you know how many third world countries are training exceptional young men and women through like cell phones, and not like smartphones, but being able to get data to the little flip phones that we used to have? It's amazing.
It's the assistive technology.
Assistive technology. Yes. There's someone back there. Say it one more time. Yes, technology in medicine is huge, absolutely. What other amazing uses does technology have? Yeah, it just makes life easier, right? I mean, even all of the things that we do on a daily basis that we don't think of, like my washing machine is highly technological, right? The fact that we go through our day and use technology in almost every sphere, we would probably be pretty lost without it.
I would wager every car that got us all here today had a computer in it. Yeah. How about communication, right? This is technically a phone. I mean, it's not, but it is. What a funny day that was. The old Nokias, right, with like 5 days of battery life, and all it did was call and text. Who had a Nokia? Yeah, I want a Nokia again, man. I miss my Nokia. It was a good phone. It's like a bomb-proof phone, right?
Also like protection because of security cameras.
Yeah, security. So I remember back in the 90s, I was watching a video and he had one of these little handheld like pocket cameras. It was a spy movie. He's like, I want one of those. We've all got like a very good quality push-in DSLR capability in our pockets now, right? I've got a camcorder in my pocket. Remember when camcorders, like home camcorders, used to look like that? Had that massive battery pack on your shoulder and you're walking around doing family videos? It's tremendous.
So how many of you would say that you have before wasted time on a technological device? No. Yes, exactly. Every single one of us. How many?
Not up, you're lying.
Yeah, if you are not being honest, we all know you're not telling the truth. You have wasted time on technology. How many of you have either struggled with or known someone who struggled with perhaps an addiction or at least just an obsessive amount of time with technology? I definitely have myself. Certainly know people who have. What was that?
When AOL first came out, chat rooms.
Yes, chat rooms way back when. Absolutely. So the question then is not how we've identified that technology has a lot of potential harm. It has a lot of amazing uses. So it's not so much about how do we manage technology, it's what approach do we bring to it. As we talked about, technology is a tool. So the way that we look at it is going to determine how we interact with it. And that's what we're talking about with the trichotomy matrix, where we're saying we need to understand that it allows us to do a lot of amazing things. It provides a lot of fun. It can also be risky. So we need to learn how to balance those and approach it in a really measured manner.
Yeah, it's not technology management, it's self-management, which as coaches is what we're all about. At the end of the day, the only thing I have control of in the entire universe is me. So if we can learn self-management, technology is just a tool, right? You can't manage technology, it's a thing. But you can manage yourself. And a 5-year-old can manage themselves if you teach them.
That's what I was actually going to say, because in our line of work, which I don't think we told you much about, our background is that we are coaches for young adults and young professionals. So we've spent the last 5 to 10 years of our lives, because we had coaches in college helping us figure out our life and our purpose and our passion. We spent the last several years of our lives working with other young adults, mostly high schoolers and college students. But what I think is so amazing about this room, at least from kind of the initial conversation we had, is that a lot of you guys are here with really young kids, like 3, 5, 8, 10. And the exciting thing is that you guys get to start that self-management with them now. We get to work with them when their parents are like, I'm done, they're addicted to video games, fix them. And so we don't fix them, but we do try to help them uncover their passions. But it's just so much more amazing and easier if you can start at a younger age and you can start having these conversations now, so that when they get to be, and I know there's a lot of you guys here who look very engaged and attentive, which is awesome, but when you are 13 or 15 or 16, that you're able to be productive with your life. I will be totally honest, and he's not here, but so I can throw him under the bus a little bit, but I have a brother who is a little bit addicted to video games. And it's been actually even this week very frustrating. We're helping remodel my dad's house, and every 10 minutes it's like, where'd he go, right? He's just like busy on his devices. And it's really sad because he has so much potential. Like, so much potential. And I know every single one of you as parents think that and believe that about your kids. And I know all of you guys who are here who aren't parents, like, we believe that you have potential. Like, you have amazing, unlimited potential. But it's up to you to decide how you use it.
Yeah, well said. At the bottom of here of this page, page 1, you will see some practical tips that we have for you. If you have questions about them, talk to us afterwards. But those are some baseline start here tips for how to help yourself manage technology. We're going to go ahead and turn the page now to page 2, and you should see values on there. I'm going to let Brittany talk about values because she loves values.
I do. I could talk about values all day long. So how would you define values?
No wrong answer, guys.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a wrong answer. Yes.
Things that you put a lot of importance to.
Things you put a lot of importance to. Absolutely agree with that.
I saw another hand, I think.
Who else?
Yeah.
Personal values can be character traits, absolutely.
Things that you're passionate about.
Things that you're passionate about, 100%.
Really good answer.
I love these answers, yes.
They're kind of like your underlying core, like your core values, your worldview, your paradigm, and what you operate and approach life from.
How you operate and approach life, your paradigm or worldview. You guys have stolen all of my answers, so I'm not even going to try and define values because you nailed it.
It's a solid set of answers.
It really is. So values, yes, they're the way that we see the world. They're the things that at our core, if everything else was stripped away, we couldn't not live our values. They're the things that are foundational to who we are and what we do. The challenge is that often, even as adults and certainly as kids, we operate from a place where our values are subconscious. So our values will define our lives, whether we know what they are or not. However, we're often going into things and engaging with things and just because we have a feeling, right? Or we do have a passion, which is great, but we may not understand where that passion comes from. Or sometimes you'll notice that you're really frustrated by something and you don't know why. Well, 9 times out of 10, I would wager that you're not living in line with your values. But if we're not bringing our values to the forefront, and if we're not being conscious about our values, then we're not able to actually notice when we're living by them or when we're not. The exact same thing happens when we work with teens and when you guys are working with your kids, right? sometimes, especially if they're little, it's going to take a lot of work and effort to understand, well, what's important to you right now. But if you can begin to cultivate that and have those conversations and not just say, no, you're misbehaving with technology, take it away, but say, okay, why is this time with your device important to you? What are you getting from this that you're not getting in other parts of your life? And help them understand, like, hey, I value this thing. Okay, great, let me help you go get that value somewhere else, not from a device. Or you can have some time with the device, but if you really value this thing in your life, you have to go pursue it. You're not going to get there looking at your computer. Who here would say that you have ever encountered something that you are super motivated to do when you have zero interest in it? No one? No one? Yeah, you're like, what? That makes no sense. So a couple people? Cleaning? Yes, okay, I get that. Good answer. I don't like this, but I will go crazy if I don't do this. But what's amazing about that is, what is the value behind that? You can't stand what? Dirty. You can't stand dirty. Okay, so cleanliness might be a value, or order is one of my values. So I may not, when I look at all the things on my to-do list, I might not say, yay, I'm super excited to do laundry today and scrub my floors. However, I know that order is something that if I don't have it, I will go crazy. I get you. And so I make decisions in my life in alignment with my values. And if I am feeling totally off and I look at some of my values and I'm like, what is wrong with my life because I feel so out of sorts? It's like, oh, well, half my values, like my house is a mess and these other things are happening, so I'm not living in alignment with my values. So I love that you said that, because what we're going to do is take a few minutes to brainstorm values. So we have personal and work values. We're going to just throw out, just brainstorm. There's no right or wrong answers. I would actually recommend we have slots for, like 8, but go ahead and, like, if you can come up with 20, that's awesome. And I'd love to hear you guys throwing out ideas, like what words come up for you as values. Yes?
Ours is Jesus.
All right, Jesus. So, and what I would challenge you all to do is to then ask what's behind that, right? So Jesus is an amazing value. What about that relationship is so important? And things like cleanliness or not having a dirty house, like what's behind that? We could go several layers with our values, right? Love. I love that. All right, go ahead and start writing down some of your ideas and brainstorming. Maybe, do you want to say anything else? Okay. Who else wants to throw out some of your words or values?
Team player.
Team player, yes, love that. Teamwork. Loyalty can be one that's associated with teamwork a lot too, or collaboration.
What's it called, the platinum value?
What's that?
The golden rule or the platinum rule?
Oh, okay.
Treat others the way that you think they expect to be treated, instead of you treating others the way they want to be treated.
That's fascinating. I don't know if I've heard that one before. The platinum rule, going up a level. Very nice. Which could be, I love, like, write that down, but then think about what's behind that, right? Is it kindness? Is it excellence? See, that's the thing, because we can say one thing, but there might be a bunch of people who love that concept, but they love it for different reasons, right? Some people might see it as going above and beyond. Some people might see it as just doing your best or being kind to other people.
Yeah, a good rule for values is kind of like reducing numbers in math, and I don't like math, so I'm sorry to bring math up. But you know you're done reducing a number when you can't go any further. And a lot of what we're doing here is, once you get your list, start reducing those values until you can't go any further. That's a good indication that you found a core value. That's what makes it a core value. You may even see some values that share core values. You may have 20 values that reduce down to 6 core values. So just work on chipping them down until you can't get any farther than that.
Relationships are important.
Okay. Yeah, connection, belonging. There's a lot of values that are one layer: belief, relationship. What makes connection or belonging important to you? Honesty. Cool. So that's getting pretty close to a core value. You can't go a whole lot farther than that. Maybe you can trust, perhaps. But that's getting pretty close to a core value. Yes, over here? Leadership. Cool. What kind of leadership? What do you admire in a leader?
Yeah, that would be honesty, loyalty, being upfront.
Cool. Well, you've got some values there below, like beneath or inside that you can dig into.
Can I throw out an idea?
Of course.
When you think about your core values, think about things you can't live without.
I love that.
Those would be the things that are your core values. And you really shouldn't have a laundry list of them, because it's things that you would take a stand on. That I can't live without this, and these are things that if anybody challenged me on them, I would take a stand.
Yep. That's beautiful. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Education, learning, development, growth, curiosity. There's a lot of things that brought us here today, for sure. One more? Say that again? Yeah, your word. Yeah. Reputation. Authenticity. Good.
So as you guys are doing this, a lot of you here are kids and teens, and this is amazing. If you can be thinking about your values now and start to live by those and make decisions by those, you're going to be in a great place. As parents, we want you guys to do this for you. You can also be thinking about, well, what might my kids say? Or you can go and have this conversation with them. At the same time, we believe it's so important that you're modeling this, right? So if you're able to go and say, hey, I have my values, these are what my values are, this is how I make decisions, sort of the lens through which I filter how I view the world, then you're going to be able to model that for your kids. So we love being able to equip you guys to have thought through this for yourself, because that's going to make that conversation with your kids that much more authentic.
It's exciting to see, too, how your values and your kids' values differ. They don't have to match. I'd say if they do match, something's probably wrong. What you bring as a family to the world is a lot richer when you have different values. Especially when you can align those values, because you may have two core values that are different, but they branch up to another value. We were talking about reducing values down to core values. Well, you and your kids may have different core values, but they connect, which is really neat.
All right, so there's this handy little wheel. So go ahead, and you might have more than 8, and that's fine, but go ahead and pick your top 8 and write them either inside or outside the wheel, so each slice belongs to one value. All right, hopefully we're getting close to having those all written out. So now we're going to go around after you've written each value in one wedge of the pie. And on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being it's not happening at all and 10 being all the time, how much are you living in line with those values in your life as a whole? So on a scale of 1 to 10, how much are you living in line with those values?
And it's okay. This is a judgment-free space, right? Like, if I were to do that wheel right now, it wouldn't be a 10. It's pretty good in a lot of areas, but it wouldn't be a 10. Room for growth, right? If it's a 10 on every area, well, you're good, you're done. Like, goodbye. So, room for growth, for sure.
We talk about with most of the kids and young professionals that we work with that you need to understand 3 things to be successful. You need to know where you are, you need to know where you want to be, and then you need to create a plan to make up the difference. And the starting point is just a great example right here, that if you don't know where you stand with your values now, if you're conflating it and saying everything's awesome, I'm 10s all around because I'm amazing, well then you can't actually get to where you want to be, because we need to be honest about where we are right now before we can say, here's how I'm going to get to where I want to go.
And this gives you a great opportunity as parents to lead through technology with your kids. If you can sit down and have this conversation about your values and how your values connect with your everyday life and decisions, they'll be a lot more receptive to that conversation than saying, put your phone away, or I'm taking your PS4. It's leadership by example. One of the most obnoxious phrases I ever heard as a kid was, do as I say, not as I do, right? It's fun to say, it's not really leadership. So a large part of this is acknowledging where you are and then leading through those values with your kids. All right, great job. So we want a number in each of those wedges for how well you are aligning with those values in your day-to-day life. Once you're there, go ahead and turn the page. And we're going to apply this to the topic of technology, because that's why we're all here today, right? You guys didn't come here for a life coaching session, but we tricked you. All right, so page 3 is the same concepts, really. We're talking about your values, your top 8 values. And actually, I'm going to borrow yours real quick. All right, so what we're doing is putting the 8 technologies you use in your life the most. Now, you may not have 8 kinds of technology, so it may be 8 apps, 8 games. For me, it would be like Google Docs, Gmail, Facebook, right? So pick the eight kinds of technology you use the most. And it can be good ones, it can be bad ones. There really aren't good and bad ones, right? It's just, this is technology, it's a tool, not a toy. So write down the 8 forms of technology that you use. Apps, video games, computers, search engines, websites. In those, say what?
Could be devices.
Yeah, it could be a device. If you have too many games or apps for 8 wedges, go ahead and simplify it a little bit.
So here's as you're filling that out, simplifying is good, because what tends to happen when we have these conversations, and what can tend to happen, I'm sure for you guys as parents, and in different contexts for your kids, is that we identify not one area to work on, but like 57, right? It's like cleaning the house, and it's like you can't just wash the dishes, right? You wash the dishes, and then you see everything else that's in a problem that needs to be resolved. So the reason we put it on a wheel is because we are forced to just pick a handful, right? 8 values, 8 areas, and honestly, 8's a little much. Like, after this, we love to encourage you to boil it down to like your top 2 or 3. Like, what are the smallest steps you can take in 2 or 3 areas at the most? Because when we say we're going to revolutionize our whole life and our family's going to be technology free by Friday, and I don't know, whatever you might say, like when we go to the extreme, as you mentioned earlier, we're not going to be successful most of the time. So we want you to boil it down. We're not going to address every technology app or device that you ever use, but if we boil it down, then we can make it manageable and decide how to address it.
Once you've got your top 8, we're going to talk about your values and how your values align with those top 8. So how in line with your values are you when you use those 8 wedges? Make sense? If you want to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being, I am awesome, I use all my values on Facebook every day. Then that can be a 10. I might call you on some BS there, but go ahead and rate it accurately. Had 2 questions up here, yes? Okay. Anybody else? Questions? Cool. Let's take 90 seconds and go ahead and put some numbers in those 8 wedges. Go ahead and refer back to your values too. Remind yourself what you said was most important to you. The hills you would die on, so to speak. The reason this is so important, right? So if I say I want to look like Thor, I don't know if you guys like Thor. I think Chris Hemsworth looks amazing, right? I want to look like Chris Hemsworth. But if when I set my alarm for 5:30 to go to the gym and I hit snooze 15 times and then don't go to the gym, and then I'm thinking, all right, chicken and salad, and I come here and I eat 5 slices of pizza, I'm not going to look like Chris Hemsworth. And the reason why is what I really wanted, what was more valuable to me at the time, was sleep and tasty food. That's not bad. Like, salad is good, but pizza's great too. And I love sleep. Sleep's good for you. Those aren't bad things, but those values don't align with my value of looking like Chris Evans. Right? The only way he got there in 6 months for that movie was by making his values align with his paycheck and working out. So it's important to make sure you're aligning what you do with your values, because you won't get it done.
And perhaps even more important when we talk about modeling behavior for kids is it's important to align what you say with what you do and how you live that out. All right, so we love to talk about the power of positive thinking. So we're going to talk about why in a minute, what it does to your brain and how we can tap into that for our kids especially. But we're going to start by this section that says your top wins. So as you look at your wheels, and it could be how your values are applied to technology, where are the areas that you feel like you are doing amazing? Like, hey, I actually am owning this. Like, I've got this, I'm being responsible here, or I'm demonstrating my loyalty here. Like, put down your top 3 wins. And if you didn't see any wins on your values wheel, your technology values wheel, then go ahead and think about it for a minute. Where are you really doing great in the area of technology?
For starters, y'all came here, right? Like, it's middle of the week, it's after work, it's after school, you're tired. You could be home watching TV, or playing Candy Crush, or surfing the Google, and you're here. That's a huge win. So whatever you would be doing with technology right now if you weren't here, that's a win. Because you're here, and your phones are off. See? Ha-ha!
Half of them are saying that's what you think.
Yeah, well, it's like he thinks my phone is off. Right. I've been playing Candy Crush under the table for the last half hour. All right, I think we're done there.
All right, so if you have your wins, actually, you need to talk about why wins are important from a brain perspective.
Sure. All right, so we're going to talk neuroscience for a second. I'll try to not bore you with it. I love the brain and how it works. So there's this neurochemical called dopamine, right? It's our reward chemical. And the reason we love these darn phones so much is because these phone companies hire neuroscientists to sit down and say, how can we make these $1,000 gadgets more addictive? And they say, give them notifications. And so when I'm in the other room and I hear my phone go ding, and I go running in there and I grab my phone and I see who it was and what it was, right? If you do one thing after this workshop, it's go on your phone and turn your notifications off. You are frying your brain on dopamine. And they know it. They're doing it on purpose. We spent $1,000 to buy phones, y'all. A Nokia is $12.
Back in the day.
You're buying brain drugs. Now, I've got one too, so I'm also buying brain drugs. But turn those notifications off. Dopamine is powerful stuff. Now, there's another way to get dopamine. It's by accomplishing things, doing things, getting things done, checking off checklists, getting your homework done, achieving something, accomplishing something, right? It's not a bad thing. It motivates us to get stuff done. Like, the reason you clean your house more than once in your life is it feels good afterwards. Yeah, you got a checklist, right? Yes, absolutely. There's nothing wrong with dopamine, but this thing is frying your brain on dopamine. Because if you have notifications on and you have, say, 20 apps, you're getting notifications all day long. It also kills your battery life, y'all. So.
And the reason that this keeps us from, and our kids especially, from getting things done is because video games or notifications or Facebook or whatever is giving us the illusion that we're accomplishing something, right? So I can check my Facebook notifications and feel all good about myself because my brain is saying, yay, you did a thing. Like, see, there's only 2 notifications instead of 10. But did I actually accomplish anything? No. I just scrolled and probably didn't even like or comment on 90% of the things. So while I might be able to sometimes tell myself that, like, oh, Facebook aligns with my value of connection because I'm interacting with people, it's giving me the illusion of interaction, the illusion of connection without the reality. So this is really important when it comes to working with kids because we need to understand that the prefrontal cortex of the brain is not fully developed until we're in our mid-20s. So that means the prefrontal cortex is a big word that basically means we are able to manage our decisions and the outcomes from our decisions. And we're not really able to do that completely effectively until we're 25. That doesn't mean we're off the hook, guys. Like, you could still own your decisions, but it means that we need to be even more intentional about the opportunities and the technology and the devices that we surround ourselves with, because our brain, every time we're doing something online, on our apps, on a video game, is saying, oh, look, you had a success, and it thinks it's checking things off the list, like ding, 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 we did something. But our brains, until they're fully developed, are less able to differentiate between an actual success and a false success. So again, having that conversation with kids is so important to help them understand the difference and then be able to prioritize activities that are actual successes. So they're getting the dopamine that is actually developing the brain from actual wins and success instead of false ones.
That's a long way to say why wins on your paper are so important.
Yes.
Celebrating real wins are really good, but watch out for the false wins. Watch out for the false wins. Your brother's story?
Sure,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So her brother, we were brought in the house, right? That whole conversation. He's really good with his hands. He's been a carpenter for a long time, but it's a whole lot more fun for him. He gets more reward for pulling out his phone or running downstairs and opening up his laptop than he does from spending the 2 hours it takes to do sheetrock properly. It takes a lot longer to do stuff in real life. So if I gave you the opportunity to spend 5 minutes and get a cookie, or spend 2 hours and get a cookie, a lot of you would probably pick the 5 minutes. If not, your prefrontal cortex is doing its job, so good job. But more often than not, we pick the easy way out, and it's a lot easier to open up Facebook and get that dopamine hit than it is to finish my work for the day or to do the homework. It's the same thing. Your teacher gives you an assignment, and I can do that and get dopamine, or I can check Facebook and get Facebook it is. Yay! Dopamine, woohoo! And then it's midnight and oh crap, I didn't get my homework done. Question, yes?
I feel like companies have gotten a hold of this instant gratification as well, that they expect us to do things faster now too. So they're overlooking us because they know that we can get it done faster through technology, instead of allowing us to take our time to be able to do things the way that we used to do them, right? Our world is so fast-paced now anymore that we have so much stress on our plates because we're expected to do all these things so much faster. And to slow down our own world is almost impossible because we're expected to keep on going at this rapid pace.
Yeah, well said.
All right, I'm so excited because I just read an article and I've been talking to him about it all day. So I will try not to be really annoying, but if you Google, it's in New York Times, they're talking about attention management versus time management. And this is my new favorite concept that I learned like yesterday. But instead of saying, okay, I have these 3 major tasks and I have 6 hours to do them, and I'm going to sit down and work on this one for 1 hour and this one for 3 hours and that one for 2 hours. What we do is we do put pressure on our brain that's really artificial, right? We don't need to put that pressure, that expectation. Now, there's a much bigger conversation about how do you have that conversation with your boss, right? Or your kids' teachers or whoever it may be. That's honestly why we're life coaches, because we love having those conversations. But the idea of attention management is phenomenal. So instead of saying, I have an hour for this task and I'm going to cram as much in as I can, you identify what are your top priorities. What are the things that have to get done today for you to be successful, for you to feel like you won, or top 3 things in your week. Don't ever pick more than 3. There is so much research out there, so much studying, so many studies. Our brain can handle about 3 things, right? Can I finish this and then I'll come to you? So pick those 3 things, and then you start with the most important, and that is where you focus your attention, not your time necessarily, because we all know how easily distracted we are from getting the thing done, right? Oh, well, I've been at this for 10 whole minutes. I deserve a Facebook break, right? But we devote our attention to that task until it's done, and then we can reward ourselves. We get the dopamine from getting the task done, and then we can also have the added benefit of like, now I'll go on Facebook, or now I'll, maybe do something healthier, go on a walk, whatever it is. That's where the value comes in. And we were having a brainstorming session for business earlier today, and he was putting things on the whiteboard, and my default was, I'm just going to check emails in the background here. And I was like, nope. Attention management. I am going to focus my attention on the task at hand. And we got so much done. It was ridiculous.
We got a 2-hour brainstorm session done in 25 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like 2 whole whiteboards worth of stuff.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah.
There was a question?
So in with the business part of that was that now that we've added more work to business on the school side with kids with technology now, most of it is on the computer. How do kids go with what's more important, because everything is important in school, and the only 20 minutes for class, it's non-existent.
Yeah. Again, bigger discussion. Our day job is working with companies to help frustrated and disengaged employees stay engaged with their work. So they're big conversations. Hop on our website and show it to your boss.
I will say one thing that can help, and it's frustrating. It's frustrating for me as a coach and you as a parent and for your kid. But I work with a lot of teens and college kids, and I think the same concept can apply, where at the end of the day, we all understand, if we're in the working world, that you're going to have to prioritize time, and not everything gets done in a day, right? Or you're home or whatever. So what I try to communicate to young people is that it may not seem fair, but sometimes life is going to hand you more than you can actually accomplish. So if you can, and I don't know how the teachers will respond, but if you as a parent can communicate that, you know what, I'm not expecting you to get every single thing done at an A+ level. I need you to pick the most important things, do those with excellence, decide if there's one thing that isn't going to impact your grade that you can let slide, and do the rest to the best of your ability with the time left over. And that's a really hard conversation. I don't know how old your kids are. That's hard with young ones. But if you can start developing that thought process, they're teenagers, it's hard, but I also work with kids who are seniors in college who haven't learned that yet, and they're gonna get out in the workforce, and they're gonna break, because they're gonna find themselves in a job where they can't get it all done, and they're gonna have to prioritize, and they're gonna have to figure out what things to let slide so they can go home and actually have a life. And if they don't, they're gonna burn out really fast. And so it's hard, but it's also, I think, a really important life skill.
Again, back to your values.
Yeah.
It's an important skill. We have seen kids snap in college. We've had a lot of college-aged clients, and we've seen kids snap in college who didn't learn that skill, and they're freaking out because they're doing 18-hour study days, right? It's an important skill to learn.
It's not a fun one.
Not a fun one. Not a fun one. So back to the power of 3 and 3 wins on your sheet. If you haven't done those, go ahead and put those down. 3 wins. If you don't know, ask your partner, right? Get some perspective. I guarantee you have at least 3 wins on that sheet of paper. Opportunities is next, and we call it opportunities for a good reason. Probably my favorite quote in all history is Nelson Mandela's quote that I never lose, I only win or learn. As coaches, a lot of what we do is helping our clients reframe bad things to opportunities. Either you win or you learn. So we have your wins on one side, we have your learns on the other. Opportunities for growth, right? because life would be really boring if you couldn't grow, and you wouldn't be here if you didn't want to learn and grow, so you are growth-minded people. So go ahead on that side of your sheet, write down your 3 biggest opportunities for growth based on your wheel. The 3 potentials that you have for greatest improvement by investing your values more thoroughly, which is really exciting. Because what that means is that you'll see a lot of positive growth there if you can implement your values more in those 3 areas.
Can you say the quote again, please?
Yeah, Nelson Mandela. It's I never lose, I only win or learn. And for those of you who don't know who Nelson Mandela was, this is a guy who spent the better part of his life in an African prison for doing the right thing. So if you can have that mindset with that kind of life, it's pretty cool. And he accomplished some pretty cool things in his life because of it. That mindset got him through a very hard part of his life and out the other side. So I never lose, I only win or learn. We're going to go ahead and turn the page, and then we're going to have some time for questions. The last page, and I'm trying to remember what the last page is. I believe it's a wheel of life, right? Impact wheel, cool. So the goal of the impact wheel, on a scale of 1 to 10, rate how you use technology for impact. Or how is your use of technology for impact? So going back to that trichotomy graph on the first page, right? The impact technology can have. We're looking at that now on this wheel. So how can you better implement technology as a tool? Because it's all a tool. That's how it was made. Like, we wouldn't buy them if they weren't useful. If there was no value to owning a TV, we probably wouldn't own a TV. And I know folks who don't own TVs because they don't see value. If you didn't see value in a phone, you wouldn't own a phone. So the reason we have them is because we see value. We're trying to apply that value. Got a question?
Yeah. It says finances in 2 places.
Whoops.
Yeah, finances.
Finances, friends, family, fun, faith.
Finances.
Finances.
Finance, are we missing?
Friends, family. Health.
We're missing health.
Oh, it's FHOP. 5F-HOP. What? It's an acronym I use. So yes, it is health. You should see 5 F's, an H, and O, and a P, and you're missing the H. So cross out one of the F's and make it an H for health. Good job. We got to make a note to fix that.
Yes, we do. Also, our website on the bottom. You can go to that one, but
Yes. There's a faster URL you can also use. It's coachingforgood.org, but this one works as well. All right. So we're talking about how you can use technology as a tool in those 8 areas of your life. So go ahead and rate your use first in the wheel. Just like we did on the last page, rate it, and then you have 3 opportunities for growth and 3 wins or 3 successes. Go ahead and write those down. Y'all are super engaged. I love this.
Oh, yeah.
I just want to make sure I get the question.
Oh, you rate them 1 to 10.
So as we are wrapping up today, what I want to do is make this actionable, right? We can sit in a room, we can talk, and we can complain, and we can educate, and we can learn, and we can write stuff down. But if we don't have things we're going to do when we get home to make life different, even one thing, nothing's going to change, right? If there's no implementation, all this was a really fun conversation. So what we're going to do when you're done writing down is maybe pick one thing out of the list of 3 things that you have down, one thing you want to do and one thing you learned. So we call these learns or takeaways, and then action steps, actions, right? So one thing you learned, one thing you're taking away from tonight, and one thing you're going to do. And I'm going to challenge you to make that one thing what we call SMART. SMART's an acronym. We're coaches. We love acronyms, almost as much as the military and the government, right? SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time sensitive, right? So a really dumb goal would be, I want to get better at basketball. I can't do that. And also, I can do that. I can just go toss the ball once. Ha-ha, I'm better, right? Now, smart would be, I'm going to go out at 5:30 every night, and for half an hour, I'm going to practice my free throws. And I'm going to improve my free throw rate by 30% in 6 weeks. That's smart. It's specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time sensitive. So go ahead and make one SMART goal and find one succinct takeaway from tonight. And then we're going to share. Had a question? T, time sensitive. Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time sensitive. So is it specific? Can I measure it when I'm done? If I can't measure it, I don't know when I'm done. Attainable, is it doable, right? R was relevant.
So attainable is, do you have the power?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, yeah, so attainable is, do I have the power to control it, right? Because I could set a goal, but if it relies on 15 other people to accomplish it, then I'm not actually the one responsible to make it happen. So attainable, do I have the power to control it? Relevant goes back to values, right? Does this have meaning for me? Is it something I'm interested in? Can I make it happen? And then T is time sensitive.
Yep. Deadlines. All right, who wants to be some of our early adopters and go first with their takeaway and their action step? Go for it.
I want to cancel my Netflix and get Netflix, and I'd like to put parental controls on our Voodoo account.
Okay, there you go. What's about takeaway?
I didn't get that far.
Okay.
I'll say, my takeaway is really teaching kids the importance of technology as a tool, because we can't escape it. It's just the way we live.
Yeah, we can't escape it. We can't escape it. Technology is here to stay. It's only going to become more pervasive, not less. You can't run from it. So use it as a tool, right? Who's next? Yes.
Turning off notifications.
Turning off notifications. There you go. I like that.
And attention management versus memory.
Okay. Yeah, that's a cool one. Who's next? I saw more hands. One takeaway and one action step. If you don't have these things, it's just a fun conversation, y'all.
All right, if the SMART acronym was a little much, we're gonna make it even simpler. I like to call it your next smallest action. So we have one, turn off notifications, right? So as soon as this is done, you can power up your phone and go to settings and turn it off. That's your next smallest action. So for canceling Netflix, your next smallest action might be pulling up the browser, going to your Netflix settings, like getting that specific with it. So if you're struggling with an action or you're not sure if you got it thorough enough, just think about your next smallest action.
Yes.
I'm gonna stop sending my daughter petty text messages and go talk to her.
Wow. I'm going to stop sending my daughter text messages and go talk to her.
Sometimes I'll text her, come up here and get me some Kool-Aid, or come up here and watch this weekend, instead of just talking to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys stop
Same house.
That's beautiful authenticity. I love that. How about a takeaway?
This is not about me.
I like the attention versus
Time management, that one? Yeah, that's a good one. Don't forget your values, y'all. Like, walking away from here with your values is huge. Yes?
My family actually has a place to put our phones when we walk in the door. We've gotten out of the habit of using it. Like, it's been the place where you walk in the door, you put your phone there, you walk out the door, you can take it with you. And we've gotten out of the habit, so that's it.
Nice. Phone-free home.
Time replacement. So what I've done in the past to help myself, because I find myself spending too much time on Pinterest, because that is a huge time waster. I have all these aspirations to do all kinds of wonderful, awesome things, and I've got all these ideas right there. But in actuality, it's not going to happen if I'm sitting there just looking at it.
Wow.
So time replacement is, instead of looking on Pinterest to do a project that I really aspire to do, I will set my phone down and actually get up and do it.
That's exciting. All right. Doing the thing. Doing the thing. People in the back, how about y'all? Yes.
Second example for the first one, and then what I took from it is finding the balance and values.
Okay. Balance and values. I like that. Who else? Yes.
Use my phone to actually call my parents and my husband. Make a phone call.
Use my phone as a phone. I love it. All right. Amen. What else? Yeah.
We've been talking about this at home, turning the TV off more, getting off the phone more, and doing more activities with the kids, games or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you make that more specific? One thing you're going to do, when you're going to do it?
Well, we're trying to do it weekly.
Okay.
Based on our schedules, whatever day that week, so that we
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
either working or depending on the weather.
That's awesome. And guys, we live in Colorado. We have 300 plus days of sunshine in this state. Like, we could probably live in teepees and be okay most of the time. Let's get outside more. I'm talking to myself because I love hiking and camping, and I don't get outside enough. So I'm going to make sure I go for a hike at least twice a week. That's my action step because we live right by the mountains. That's west, right? It feels like it's west.
I think so.
Yeah. Yes.
When my son is playing with someone, I ask who you playing with, who you talking to. And especially nowadays, that if you're watching, you can't put headphones, you cannot close your bedroom door. It has to be open, you cannot have headphones when you're watching on the other side. So we can hear what they're listening. So we can see what they're doing. So it's like in our house, like we made a room. We have done it before, but now it's very strict. No door closing at all when we want.
Yeah.
When you have it or phone, talking, we have to do that.
Yeah. I would encourage you guys to teach your kids as early as you can that this is a tool. We both got our college degrees online. I remember the first time I used Google was to do a chemistry fair project. Look at stuff on pH. It was cool. Like, I was going to the library with dimes and photocopying things. Like, oh, you can Google it? What? That's so cool, right? This is a tool. If you can teach a 10-year-old this is a tool, they can have an e-commerce business and be making money for themselves at 10 years old, right? They can be getting dual credit on their phone at 14. Like, this is a really cool time to be alive, and this is a tool. This is an unprecedented tool. This is probably the coolest single human invention from a potential standpoint in the history of mankind. It rivals the fire. Like, this thing is amazing. And if we're using it to play Candy Crush, we're not really using it to its fullest potential. Any more action steps or takeaways? Yes.
I only have a few games on my phone for my daughter, and she only uses it maybe once every 3 months, if that, for those games. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and wipe them out and tell her, sorry, I don't have any more games on my phone. They're no longer there. You can't get them. Yep.
Okay.
And she's 5, so she'll believe that.
Okay. Who else?
Ask the question.
Yeah.
When would you say it would be appropriate for kids to have their own phone and be using a shared?
I'm not a parent. That's a case-by-case example. I would personally say not until they need it. And there are probably adults in this room who didn't have a phone until they were adults. Now, it's harder to find pay phones, but I guarantee you all of their friends have phones. So there probably are more phones in the world now than there were back in the days of pay phones in the 90s. But I'm not going to say that's your decision. That's a parent-by-parent, life-by-life decision. Yes, there were 2 things in the back here.
I was going to go on to the whole when should you give a kid a phone. I don't give my kids phones, and for the longest time they would give me the, oh man, why, mom, everybody else has a phone. And my 17-year-old daughter has actually seen why she doesn't need buttons. Because every time she's in a group of her friends, everybody's face down. She doesn't get any time with her friends.
Yeah. Now, granted, this was a lot longer ago than when you all are raising kids right now, but I didn't have a cell phone. It was a small one at that, like the Nokia, until I was 18. And I argued with my parents all the time. I'm like, no, I have to be able to call you when I get, and they're like, ask to use the house phone or borrow someone else's cell phone. So guarantee you, like, your kids will survive.
I mean,
Guarantee.
I need a phone. Quick, who's got a phone? Nobody? Nobody? Oh, there's 2 in the room. Whew, I'm saved. Right? I mean, I think we'll be okay.
Yes.
My situation, I have to say, my child has to provide something to eat. I end up getting him home because
Yeah.
of the emergency situation. But what I was going to say to that is if you take your child home, I found a really good app. It's called Parent Guardian. And it actually works really well. Like, you can see their text messages, you can see the location on their phones, you can block their phone, like you can, if they're, being obnoxious and being relevant, you can just shut their phone off.
Yeah.
They can, you can do all kinds of things with it, and it's a really good app.
Cool. Parent Guardian was the name of the app. And just to build on that, and the website we mentioned at the beginning, access.org, has a lot of resources that can help, because I know some apps, I don't know about that one specifically, but I know some apps have workarounds and things like that. And so I think as important as those opportunities are, especially for young ones, it's also so important to be having these conversations. And I know you acknowledge that, but it made me think of something I read, and I really, really appreciated this approach of a parent who said, for their house, the only time her kids would get in trouble when it came to technology is if they were lying about it or hiding something. And I think that, we've had conversations about being able to monitor or not having the door closed. I think if you're having these conversations with your kids and you're saying, hey, nothing's off limits, because we know you're going to encounter things on the internet. Side note, the average age that kids are exposed to pornography is age 8. So, the studies say that, the person who talks to your kid first about those issues are the ones who control the narrative. So if you're not talking to your 8-year-olds about what they're encountering on the internet, then they're going to be learning it from the internet and from their friends, and that's who they're going to listen to. So have the conversations. And I think the value of saying, hey, I'm going to monitor things, but you know what? You're not in trouble if you find things on the internet. You're not in trouble if you are confused or if you're unsure about what you're experiencing. If you're lying about it or if you're hiding it, then we're going to have some problems. But keep the conversation lines open, because that's how you're going to be successful.
Totally agree with that. It's a tool, guys. Every safeguard has workarounds, and I guarantee you, your kids will find them. But if you teach a 10-year-old this is a tool, and you show them how to use this tool successfully, that's a door to education and growth and development and wisdom and life lessons that you can't teach them otherwise. And if they aren't ready for a smartphone, try a flip phone. Try a Doodlebug. It only does texting and phone calls, right? There are options. If they need a phone to call you, get them an actual phone. This is a computer. This is not a phone. This is a computer that does phone stuff, but it's not a phone. Any more questions, thoughts, action steps, takeaways? Yeah.
You mentioned being careful about false winds, and I was wondering how that relates to the trend in schools to participate.
You'll have to invite us back for that presentation. Nothing teaches grit, is the word we use in coaching a lot. Nothing teaches grit in life like challenges. That's why risk was on that triangle, right? And if you're insulating and isolating kids from challenge, they won't grow. Having challenges with video games or porn on the internet is not the worst thing in the world. It teaches your kids something valuable if you use it as a teaching opportunity. If it becomes something bad, they'll hide it, right? But you have an opportunity to develop kids' grit and wisdom and that prefrontal cortex through how they handle this as a tool. If you walk away with nothing else from this thing besides 1, turning off your notifications, it's 2. This is a tool. This is not a toy. We went to the moon with less than this. Substantially less than this. Orders of magnitude less than this. This is not a toy. You don't play with the mainframes at NASA, right? This is not a toy, but it's a powerful tool. And you don't want your kids being ignorant of how to use the tools in their life. I think we're done. I'll hang around for a few more minutes. I'm sure we can do that and answer questions, but thank you for coming. We really loved how engaged you were.
Thank you guys so much. It really was amazing to have the conversations we had, and definitely feel free to talk to us afterwards.
Thank you, thank you. Give them some appreciation. Awesome.